hear a lot about the war these days and the horror of First World War, but actually there's another way of looking at it really. The men that joined up may have had a good time, and they had actually positive reasons for joining that army, like poverty, to escape it, maybe just a meal on the plate, or 3 meals per day, maybe just a set of underwear, boots or shoes that they probably never wore. They had all that by joining the army. The unfortunate part, of course, was once they joined the army, they were now the property of the army, and the army could have done what it liked with them. So men went off to war with their comrades, and they did enjoy parts of it. And they say that they fought in the trenches for days and nights, but like, men were only up in the trenches for 48 hours, in the front line trenches. Then they were to the second line trenches, and then they were taken out of the area altogether. The Connaught Rangers in the Battle of the Somme, and they were there only 5 days. 5 days, September 1916, and then they were removed from the area. Granted now, they lost 300 or 400 men, I have to say that as well. Reasons. Francis Ledwidge actually had a very positive reason why he joined. It's in a biography on the man, that he knew the enemy was between us and civilization, and it had to be stopped. And he said, rather than stay at home and pass motions at meetings, he said he was going to do something, so he just joined up. I'm not so sure all the men had as positive a reason as that, but men had reasons for joining. Barrack life. They joined up. They had to sign up on this big form called the attestation papers. They had to, their life was on this, their name, address, next of kin, their height, the colour of their eyes, and then they made an oath to the king. Then they signed on this. This was now their signing up order for the army. I would say life in the army was, in a training barracks, was probably good, whether it was 4 months, 5 months or 6 months. They had comrades. They probably had drink. They were finished every evening around 4 o'clock. They may have had a few duties to do. But after all, they were home for weekends. They had time off. They even had holidays. But unfortunately, at a certain time, the battalion was called up and they moved to some port like Dublin or Cork, and they were shipped out into France.
Up to mighty London came an Irishman one day. As the streets were paved with gold, sure everyone was gay, singing songs of Piccadilly's grand and Leicester Square, till Paddy got excited, then he shouted to them there, it's a long way to Tipperary, it's a long way to go, it's a long way to Tipperary, to the sweetest girl I know. Goodbye, Piccadilly, farewell, Leicester Square, it's a long, long way to Tipperary, but my heart is right there. And he wrote a letter to his Irish Molly, saying, should you not receive it, write and let me know. If I make mistakes in spelling, Molly dear, said he, remember, it's the pen that's bad, don't lay the blame on me. It's a long way to Tipperary, it's a long way to go. It's a long way to Tipperary, to the sweetest girl I know. Goodbye, Piccadilly, farewell, Leicester Square, it's a long, long way to Tipperary, but my heart is right there. It's a long way to Tipperary, it's a long way to go. It's a long way to Tipperary, to the sweetest girl I know. Goodbye, Piccadilly, farewell, Leicester Square, it's a long, long way to Tipperary, but my heart right to bear.
The World War I Heritage Group was formed in 2014 to research, collect, restore and record information, artefacts and memorabilia around the period 1914 to 18 in relation to Ballinasloe. Their first project was to restore the Roll of Honour, which recorded the names of 88 men that participated in World War I around the Ballinasloe region. As research was carried out, they discovered more names that not included on the roll of people that participated in World War I from Ballinasloe and its hinterlands. This roll is now restored and it will be housed in the new library when it's opened in the autumn. An important thing to remember is that a lot of these people that participated in World War I did not come home, and we generally have commemorations about that, but we also need to remember those that did come home and trace the lives that they also lived afterwards. Niall Kelly, the piper, an army piper. You're all very welcome to the Land's Hotel this evening. I'm Brian Casey and I'm the MC for tonight's events. So tonight we're talking about 1914 to 18 being remembered here in Ballinasloe. One thing tonight, you probably saw the school displays in the corner there, and if you haven't, get a chance to look at it later on. We'll be announcing the winners of that competition today as well. So I'd like to extend a particular warm welcome to the 5 finalists from Clonfert National School and their teacher Niall Kelly, Clymer National School with Owen Fenton, Korea National School with Anya Blaheen, Airport National School with Aidan Tracy, and Clontuskert National School with Kate Murray. You are all most welcome. I especially want to welcome Councillor Mary Old Cahirlock of County Galway, Councillor Michael Conley Cahirlock of Ballinasloe Municipal District for attending today as well. The Ballinasloe World War I Heritage Group are responsible for this event tonight. It was formed early last year to remember, research, record and restore information and artefacts and memorabilia available locally. The starting point was a Roll of Honour, which you see a copy of it here on my right hand side. And stuff that Stephen Connell, our chairman, will talk about very shortly. The Roll of Honour is currently in storage. It's been restored and it's kept in storage in the correct environmental conditions, and it will reach its new resting place later in the year in the new library in Ballinasloe. We researched the 88 personnel listed on the Roll of Honour and have gathered information together, and it's on display over there as well. You can see a lot of information, a lot of hard work has gone into that. And while researching these names, we documented any other ones that we came across with the Ballinasloe connection. The research on this is ongoing, and we hope to produce a book with all the information gathered eventually. You will also see a number of items on display across the room with memorabilia from World War I. And feel free to look at these over the course of the night after the formalities have come to an end. And I think some people have a lot of questions, and the people will be happy to answer those as well. So I'm going to introduce our first speaker, which is our chairman, Stephen Connell, who will give a short history of the roll and which has been restored. So I'd like to welcome Stephen.
It was big work and the grand government. Okay? Now, first thing I want to do is to thank you all very much sincerely for coming here tonight, because that is the important thing. As you found out, my name was Stephen Connell, and we're a group that was formed here to try and put together a kind of a history of the people who lost their lives from in 1914 to 1918. And there's a huge history. We may not have it all, but by golly, we're going to stay digging till we get the whole lot of it. And that's what I wanted to tell you. But there's another thing before we start to say this here tonight that I really want to do. That about maybe fortnight, possibly 3 weeks ago, we lost a very good member of our committee, Paddy Riddle. And I would sincerely like to remember him by asking you, if you would please, to give a minute silence for him, because he worked hard and he was very interested. Please, 1 minute. Yeah. Thank you all very much indeed. I have a very simple job, and I'm trying to do it as fast as I can. Really, what we're endeavouring to do here is to give you a history of the Roll of Honour. That replica of it is not the thing, it's in Galway, it's ready to come back. And the amazing thing about it, since it was, I'm not too sure of when it was actually put together by the people who came back from the Great War. But it got it very hard to find a home. It's like O'Brien, nobody wanted it. I'm going to be very honest with that. How it actually survived is, you know, it has 9 lives, but it did survive. And we have it together, and hopefully we will have a home for it in the new library that people, you know, everybody can go and look at. So I do want to tell you that. It's important to remember that it survived an awful lot of things, and, you know, amazingly, I won't go back and dig into history as to the reasons, because they're gone. And the reasons for the war is gone too. But we'd like to gather those who fought and get their rights. That's the important part about it. And the history of the family. By the way, my own connection is, I have my name up there, you know, I didn't die yet. There's Stephen Connell up there, and there's a Michael Connell, they're my uncle. I give you another small bit of history from if any of you are familiar with Ballinasloe, and you mightn't be, but the Connell family came from Haymarket Street in Ballinasloe, and they do figure out where Haymarket Street was in Ballinasloe, that in coming to the end of the 18th century, but that's what it said, you know. I'm going to finish, by the way, by thanking the people who I think that the people who are coming here, and also the schools who participated in our competition. The young people interested in 1914, possibly we were looking at what living conditions of their life, or for what reasons endured them to go out and die, and would they feel surprised is another. We'll possibly never know, but out there in their houses, you know. But let's remember them, not judge them. And thank you all very much.
Thank you, Stephen, and also I think on behalf of everyone here, I'd like to convey our sympathies on the passing of your own niece, May, this week as well, and may she rest in peace as well.
The Ballinasloe World War I Commemoration Group have restored the First World War Roll of Honour, which previously was housed in the British Legion hut near the current library, and we'll be displaying that newly restored Roll of Honour in the new library in Society Street, which we hope to open in autumn. So we had a fantastic experience visiting the schools, where not only were we shown the projects, we were treated to some singing, poetry recital, and many of the kids brought in World War I artefacts, plus some family connections to the war, great-grandparents and so on. The standard of the projects was exceptional. We really had a tough time coming up with a winner. The judging was based on 4 criteria, which I'll just read. They were presentation and clarity, interaction with the judges, content and variety, and intergenerational sources. So in the end it was a difficult decision, but we had to pick a winner. Okay.
So on to the next item is finding out who are the winners of this competition. I know I was looking at the exhibitions today, and there's been a huge amount of work being put in by schools, by teachers, by students especially, for the exhibitions and the displays, and they are a great credit to their schools and to their families as well. So I'm going to call upon Kieran Shaughnessy, who's manager at the Ballinasloe Library, and he's also one of the judges of this as well, and he's going to announce the winner, and the prizes are presented by Councillor Mary Holt, Cahirla, County Galway. So I'll call on Kieran to speak. Thanks.
Thanks very much. Not too accustomed to speaking in public, so I'll try and keep it short. I was delighted to be asked by the committee to help judge this competition, and can I also commend Dougie and the lads for the work they did here today just to get the room ready. It was a fantastic effort. The competition was incredibly hard to come up with a winner. What we've done is we picked one winner and 4 runners-up. To be honest, any of the 5 schools could easily have been a winner. The standard I thought was fantastic. Just to let you know what we judged it on content and clarity, presentation and clarity, interaction with the judges, content and variety, and intergenerational sources. So what we meant by that was we were hoping that the children would consult their families to see if any old stories about the war and do they have relatives involved and so on. And fair basically they all did that. When we visited the schools to judge the competition, their presentations were fantastic. What you see here is just, the stuff piled up on the table, but when we visited the schools, we were able to ask questions, and some of the schools did video presentations, they did songs, they did recital poetry that they wrote themselves, and like I said, when we came here tonight, we had our minds pretty much made up, but it's just so difficult to pick a winner. But we have picked a winner, so I won't keep you any longer. Without just one plug about the new library, I'm sure you've all noticed we've been renovating the old convent building there for the last year, so I can't give you an opening time yet, but we're saying autumn. I see a lot of my loyal borrowers here tonight, but those who don't come, I hope you will come along to the new place, because it's your library, it's not our library, we're just there to open the doors, so we look forward to seeing you all in the autumn time. So I'm going to call the winner, and if they come up and accept their award from Cahira, Canary Hold, and if they don't mind, just each group or each whoever comes to collect the certificate, will they wait by the just wait along here for a photograph. Okay. So again, congratulations, boys and girls. Fantastic efforts. Congratulations to the teachers who really did sterling work. The winners are Clontusford National School.
Schools individually, so we'll get Priya School up next, please. congratulations to the schools again, the tremendous work. A round of applause. So the Mayor of the County Galway, Councillor Mary Holt's going to say a few words as well. So hello to Mary.
Shanadori, Cahirlock, Ballinasloe, Municipal District, Corlery, agus a Corja, agus Gwynúshta, is mór an anagomsa behan Shanador, an ócáid special the Starwood Show. Senator Michael Mullins, Councillor Michael Connolly, Chairperson of the Municipal District, Councillor Dermot Connolly, Councillor Aidan Donoghue, Councillor Michael Finnerty, and I think that's all that's there, sometimes it's dangerous to name, and all involved in the project. I'm delighted and honoured to have had the opportunity, and I thank Doug Rafter for the invitation to be here tonight. But particularly I want to congratulate all of the school children who participated. It was with great interest that I went around and spoke to each one of them at their own station, and I have to compliment them for the wonderful work that they have done. Tonight is a special night, and there always has to be winners and there always has to be losers, but you're all winners in relation to the projects. So huge congratulations to you and to all involved in tonight. It's a great success, and I wish you continued success in the work that you do. You're very fortunate to have Stephen and Doug and people like that who work with you and work in the community and are doing a wonderful job. Again, it's my honour and privilege to be here, and may I wish you every success into the future. Goramila Mahaga from there.
Now everyone, so congratulations to everyone again for their hard work on that. So just mind at the very end of the evening, please stay around. There's going to be some finger food and refreshments as well, and you're all more than welcome to stay for those.
My connection to the World War I project is my grandparents on my grandmother's side and on my grandfather's side. Gussie Brown came back alive. His brother Joseph didn't come back alive. And then I found out he had two other brothers, an Eddie and a Michael, that also fought out there. They all fought in the Connacht Rangers except one brother, Michael. He was with the Royal Hussars. So I did a bit more search, and I checked on the Burkes, my mother's side of the family, and Willie Burke joined the army in 1914, and then his brother Jack Burke, John Burke they call him on his papers. Jack came back, he lost a leg out there. He was in a trench with three other fellas. They were killed. He got shrapnel. And because of where he was, in the muck and the dirt, they operated on the leg and he got poison in the leg, septicemia. So bad that they had to ship him back to London, where they did 10 operations. It's on his papers. His papers were that thick. Took the leg off and he was sent back to Ireland as he was demobbed. It says here, no longer physically fit. It's a laugh really, you know, when you think about it. An old story that to say about Jack was that himself and it was I think it was an uncle or a granduncle of Mickey Murray. They lost two legs, or a leg each, but a left and a right, and both of them the same size feet. So they would go and buy their shoes a size 9. One would take the left one, and the other fellow would take the right one. But in later life, I had a grand aunt called Nina Burke. Nina never married. She nursed Jack all his life. When we were kids, we'd go up to Nina. She was a great woman for making potato cake. And she had a big open fire. The old house was there, they didn't have ranges, they had an open fire, 2 hobs, and she was making them on the gritty cakes, as we call it. And Jack would be upstairs. He was gassed, so his health wasn't great in later life. And you'd hear him moaning above in the room, and Nina would look up and she said, oh, God help him. So I wrote a poem, and the name of the poem is called The Dream. I didn't know what she meant back then, God help him, but I now know. So I'll read the dream. It's called, He toss and turn and stay awake, but sleep would always come. He'd dream of childhood friends and happy times with chums. Then came the nightmare of that half-forgotten day. He'd smell the gas, he'd hear the screams, and he'd try to run away. He'd see the flash, he'd hear the guns, the roaring in his head, the cries of friends he used to have. Those friends are now all dead. For years and years he'd have that dream. He's back there in that fight, the war to end all wars. He'd live it every night. Hush, now don't you wake him. His nightmare's at an end. Just remember Jack. He's happy now. He's sleeping with his friends. Rest in peace, Jack Burke. Thank you.
Now the next person I'm going to say a few words is Councillor Michael Connolly, who's the hero of the Ballinasloe Municipal District. So please, Councillor Connolly.
Dormir Margaret Hula. The Aston Party kid, Shannon the Rome Mailon, agus a Curlori. Agus Vinny Utley, agus na Poshi Galera. It's a great honour for me as Cahirlock of the Ballinasloe Municipal District to be here with the Cahirlock of Galway County Council to celebrate this great event. And I think it's very important that we commemorate 1914 to 1918, because in my time we heard about all those things from our parents and our grandparents, those of us who are lucky to hear things from our grandparents. But I think I want to pay a special thanks to all the teachers and all the children in every school, not just the winners Clontuskert. I'm sure I saw on their project they're worthy winners, but you're all winners in your own right. When you look at the projects done by the different schools in Crea, in Killimer, in Clontuskert, and Clonfert, and Aircourt, and all the different schools, it was quite impressive, because I think the imagination shown by the children in working with small pieces of material, working with technology, in doing presentations in relation to it, I was particularly impressed. And it's very, very important that the events that happened in 1914 and 1918 live on in the memory of people of this country, and it was being forgotten. But I think the children went and researched this, didn't hear it with any particular slant on it. They went and they put their own meaning to it, and they researched it in a very professional way. And I want to thank, in particular, all the teachers who helped them. And it's a great honour to be here with fellow councillors, Michael Finnerty, the Vice Chairman of Aidan Dunhill, Jim O'Neely, Johnny Walsh, and all, Brian Casey, Gabriel Rowan, also a former chairperson, or former member of the Town Council here in Ballinasloe. And compliments to Evelyn and to Stephen Connolly and to everybody associated with this project. I think it's a wonderful evening, a wonderful event to see all this memorabilia, to see the army displaying their wares over here and all the rest of it. It gives us some insight as to what happened in those times when there was only men marching and a lot of people, a lot of casualties. There was no technology, there was no drones, there was anything. It was just hard graft. And I suppose in a time when we we're coming up tonight to celebrate 1916. At that time, a lot of the people who were associated with 1916 were scorned upon by our own people. But they kind of set the tone to give this country democracy, freedom and liberty and equality that we are enjoying, that we enjoy. We have probably a long way to go in terms of all the things that need to happen in our society. But I think this is a wonderful evening. It reminds us of our past and where we all came from, some of our relatives that suffered, etc. But I think it's important that we look to the future also and stand proud as a nation for what we have achieved so far. Thank you very, very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Councillor Connolly. Now, Joe Lucknan is from Lochray and he's going to speak about the Connacht Rangers for a few minutes for us as well. Okay, just he wants to get the PowerPoint working. Okay, so he's a great knowledge of the Connacht Rangers. So he's going to give a talk in a couple of minutes on how they went to war. And Joe, along with Coleman Shaughnessy and Kieran Shaughnessy were the judges for the schools projects as well. And they did a tremendous work around to the schools talking about the students there as well. So Joe is a real buff about this area as well, so he's going to get to talk to you about this in a few minutes.
Hello. Douglas asked me about 2 months ago, Joe, will you tell us something about why the men joined up and what was army life like? That's what I'm going to talk about. The Connacht Rangers is nothing, but I'll only be 10 minutes here. I was told to be quick about it. So, That's what I'm going to talk about. I've never met any of these men. I don't know why they joined up. And I'm sure they had a good time in their life. Coleman, you might move that on there. Look at, I even know that all. If you're looking for a job today, wouldn't you need some of this? If any of you has gone out for a bit of work, a weekly wage, I'm sure that there were some of them was the first one. I got this out of the paper the last couple of months. Independence away from their mother and father and to see life. Comradeship, if the friend was going, you might as well go. There was good comradeship in the army, and I always say soldiers probably had a good time away from battle, right? Their politicians, they were told by their politicians to go. John Redmond told them to go. That was it. So I'll leave it. To move out of poverty. Ballinasloe, a town, Locklear, they're all small towns. What was life like here in 1914? They got a chance of 3 meals a day. And they went off. I even read somewhere they got underwear. They got a uniform. Some of them got 2 uniforms. And they had a pair of boots. So how was that happening, right? Adventure. Young men love adventure. I'm talking to the young men down here this evening, and I'm watching young lads here that love playing with guns. Right? Right? See the world. Yes, they got as far as Gallipoli, they got South Africa. It was a good time. If I had to talk about the Connacht Rangers, I'd be here for 2 hours. The Connacht Rangers had 4 battalions in that war, right? Because their friends had joined up. Friends going. I had a photo, I didn't put it in. 2 men from Mam Cross, a Joyce and an O'Malley. They met at a dance. I only got this photograph recently, I didn't put it up. They met at a dance in Man Cross. I was never at a dance in Man Cross in Connemara. And they got the train into Galway and walked down to Rinmore Barracks and joined up. Both of them were killed on the 21st of August 1915 in Gallipoli. And the bodies were burned, and that was the end of that. Right. Tradition within families. I think there was a bit of that going on. Brothers before other brothers, and maybe the father. I definitely think there was something going on. Now you can add a few more things to that. Okay, Colin, thanks. Look, maybe they read the old Boys' Own magazines and they wanted to be like that old soldier. That's a Connacht Ranger soldier from about 1820 or 1830. Why would guys go to war in white trousers? Right? But this was to look good. Soldiers had to look good. And actually, when I was waiting there, there's a man, when I was waiting here to come on, just looking at the photographs here at the end, there's a man called Williams. And I just happened to look left down here. You can see it later on. And my God, there's a photograph of him in 1914 when he joined up. And there's a photograph of him 2 years later in the Somme. The man had changed. So that proves my point. Young men will do anything with him. Right, okay. Thanks, Paul. Look, I wouldn't like to be a woman. Or a man. Sorry, I wouldn't like to be a man. Walking around Ballinasloe around 1914 or 1915. And a woman met me on the street. And I'm walking around with my hands in my pockets. Not getting involved in this war. So, and she says, do you want me to do it? What are you going to do but join up? So, this was the propaganda and the TV sets of the day. I know they're here again. This was it. Before another place is burning, and will you go or must I? Imagine if that was said to a man. You'd be horrified. You'd have to go. Okay, Paul, thanks. I know this April 1915, there was a big rush on enlistment after that Lusitania, and that really got them going, because from August, September, October up to Christmas 94, it was going well. January, and then we had this other boost. Well, it wasn't a boost really, but men decided to go again. That kept on going in up to about Christmas of that year. I can tell you after 1916, there was no men joining the British Army. Only a few, right? Okay. Francis Ledwidge probably is the man that I took this out of a biography made of him by Alice Courtain. Look, I joined the British Army because she stood between Ireland and an enemy common to our civilization, and would not have to say that she defended us while we did nothing at home but pass resolutions. Francis Ledwidge was in the Irish Volunteers, up in Slane there, and he just, Lord Dunsany persuaded him. He joined them as Skilling Fusiliers. Francis Ledwidge was blown to bits in July 1917. He had some lovely poetry, he was a good man, he was good with words. So that was the end of him. But he had a reason. I'm not sure every man had this reason, but it's a good enough reason. Okay, thanks. I always think then, when I think of the Williams man here, they go into this barracks or go into an office and they sit down in front of an officer or a sergeant, and he takes out a big sheet of paper. He's enlistment sheet. I got that off the internet now, it doesn't mean anything really. And he started to take this man's details. You just sign up. Coleman, you can push that on. The second one. Now, what's on this sheet of paper? Their full name, their address. And I know people that do research consider themselves very lucky if they find this for a man they're looking for. Next of kin, religion, not that it made any difference, like, right? Trade or calling, may help out if you were good with horses or other things. You had various trades, right? Age, they say some of them lie with their age, maybe the 16-year-olds or something 18 and things like that, right? There was a number. The number and the regiment probably came later. It was signed in at the top. They probably went in. I was talking to a lady earlier on, man was in the Royal Irish Fusiliers and things like that. And I said, why did he join that? Was he in England? You see, if you're in your own place, you join the regiments here. If you're working over in England, you might try and join an Irish regiment if you got the chance. If not, you just join anyone, right? No, back again, Paul, thanks. We're not finished there. Are you willing to be vaccinated? It was on the form. There was a yes or a no answer. Maybe there was some vaccinations for the malaria and stuff like that. Are you a British subject? They all were British subjects. From Ireland at that time, they were British subjects, right? Did you receive a notice, meaning where you were told to go by somebody or were you from the reserves or things like that, right? Short or general service. I believe you could join for 7 years. This is now before the war. And then you had 5 years in reserves. So a young man of 18 or 20 technically joined for about 12 years. 7 years with the colours, and you hope there was no war on. And if you survived that, you got back to your home, maybe you had a bit of a trade, and then you're in the reserves. There was a little story in August 1914 in Rinmore Barracks in Galway. The reserves were called in that 4th of August, the 5th of August. Telegrams were sent out. Men come in the gate, and if you ever go into that building and stand inside the gate, I can think of these men coming down that Rinmore Road, and they're being called up for the reserves. So many were happy to be going in. It was race week, and the Galway races was on. There's other things going on that week, like, but they were the reserves, right? Okay, signature of witness and oath to the king. They signed off on that. Had you read the oath? So they did it, right? And then date of recruitment, signature of a attestation officer, and there was obviously another officer then assigned the bottom of it. So that was it. You are now a soldier. Okay, Paul. Now the next one on the other way. Well, I was going to talk then about the training, and I said, sure, what can I say about the training? But I've taken an infantry training manual for 1914, and on the first page, we're going to make this man mentally and physically better than his enemy. That's the training was all about. The training to do what he had to do. Maybe nasty things, right? Develop the soldierly spirit, groups of soldiers, men together, getting on with it. Training the body, gyms, and maybe they had good food and things like that, right? Taking the use of rifle, bayonet, and spade. They were their weapons. And I suppose it was all done in the barrack square. And life was pretty good. They got up in the morning, they had breakfast. Even though I seen a piece in the Irish Times about 3 weeks ago from a British soldier in Fermoy, and he wasn't at all happy with the town, the women in it, and the food he was getting in the barracks. He wasn't at all happy. But maybe he got the feeling that time he wasn't welcome either, like, you know, things was going on, right? So, it was done in the barrack square. I think the only thing they really hated were these route marches. They used to often hit off for 15 and 20 miles. Whenever an officer got an idea that the boys needed a bit of exercise, and they put their packs on, and they just hit off. And I can imagine 800 or 900 men going down the road, marching, and then they come back. Did they have showers? Was there a change of uniform? All this going on, like, I don't know. The boots, I say, were well more on the hot nails and all that. Okay, Coleman, thanks. Then I think of this man here, Francis Ledgers again. I like him because a poem, and he has a poem written called Soliloquy. And the last little line of it, or verse of it, and I'll always think of this. And now I'm drinking wine in France, a helpless child of circumstance. Tomorrow will be loud with war. How will I be accounted for? A little grave that has no name. That's the way I'm trying, something like that. I forgot the last 2 lines. So Francis Ledgers was a man, he was in the Enniskillen Fusiliers, so I said, okay, Colin, thank you. Now, bit of a biography done about Alice Cortain. He must have been writing to her, right? Not bad here. 1 hour parade. Francis Ledyard was very smart with writing and bookkeeping, so he was a corporal within 3 weeks. He got an extension to his wages. He rose up from the 10 shilling or 7 shillings a week to about 10. And he could stay out till midnight. The soldiers had to be back at 10 o'clock and all this stuff. Like, he was a responsible soldier, 2 stripes, right? But he was saying he had a great time here for the clerk, right? Extra pay, mess with the clerks. He wasn't eating with the soldiers. That's what he means there. Breakfast, we got tea, bread, butter and fish, sometimes steaking, sometimes... This is good. This is great. I even love the pineapple for tea. More fish again and pineapple for tea. Perfect, really, yeah. So, they had a good time. They were fed well. They had to have work. If the body was being used, they needed to do it. Thank you, right. Then there's another story. I often think then, how did the British officers think of our men? Irish men now, we can think of our Irish here. What did they think of us? And I'm sure some of them had a hard time because of their Irishness. About 27 Irish men were executed during the war for various things, right? Now, they tell us they were very good soldiers, and I have often said this to people, sure, they're very good soldiers, why are you shooting them? And I know one man was shot in Gallipoli because he didn't salute his officer. Now, there are enough troubles in Gallipoli, besides shooting their own men, but that has happened, right? So, this man, Ronald Fielding, he wrote thing. This man now was a very English officer. He was an officer in the Coldstream Guards. You don't get any more English than that. These are, even though I have to say, in our history, the Irish Brigade serving with the French beat the Coldstream Guards at the Battle of Fontenoy. That was 1745 now. I'll get back there, right? Okay, so great is their contrast between their national characteristics and the men that I have come from. What is that man saying there? He is talking very good things about these Irish men. The commander of the Connacht Rangers was killed on the 6th or 7th of September 1916 in the Battle of the Somme. And this man then got the job, Ronald Fielding, as the CO of the battalion, which was about 700 or 800 men, right? And he's writing back to his wife, telling them about these new men that he never really experienced in his life, right? They're a curious crowd. Okay, right, that's fair enough. Nothing wrong with that. They will report sick when in reserves. When they're back and there's nothing fighting, they suddenly get bored and they all go sick. Maybe they're on the drink, I don't know what to do. Right? And there are drills and fatigues to be done, but when in the line, I do not think the average of more than 1 or 2 a day for the whole battalion. So I suppose they take their names in the morning, they find out if there are a few sick. 1 or 2 a day in a battalion. That's 800 or 900 men. Right? It seems a matter of honour to them. And where a mass is concerned, that is their religion. They are never too tired to attend. Their devotion is quite amazing. So there's very compliments from an Englishman. Probably I'm going to the next one. Thank you. This one you're going to love. Now I'm giving this to the ladies here, the wives, right? They are truly an extraordinary and explicable race. They will do anything they are asked to do, even to death. But they become like mules if they're driven to do something. So I said, isn't that's real Irish stuff. Right? I'm sorry for thinking of me. Right. Okay, well, thanks. I think I'm nearly there. Then there's another book. Now I'm referring to a few books. I know you're going to have a wonderful library coming, and I believe there's going to be a room dedicated with this, the original of this scroll here, Wall of Honour. So our librarian is around, and I know there'll be books, and I'm sure there'll be books. And I ask, of course, how do children do the projects? Where do they learn all that stuff? It's probably on that internet, and do they read books? They do read books, yeah. And this is a lovely book. It's a nice book to read, and it's very simple. A man called Lucy from Cork, and he joined himself and his brother. I was a problem at home, my mother had died, and they went up to Belfast, and they joined the Royal Irish Fusiliers. That was the group in Belfast. And they were in Mons and all that. Okay, Gordon, thank you. Right. A battalion. That's the little group again. So I know there's people going around here looking for the thing. You have to find out the battalion the man was in. If he was in the Connacht Rangers, my granduncle was in the Connacht Rangers, I said, what battalion? You must find out the battalion, because the history then is in the battalion. So a battalion is like a town. And viewed in this way, it had many attractions. 800 men and 30 or so officers, well I was going to say 30 or 40, and they're not slowly at all times engaged in training for war. Working hours are not long and holidays are numerous. That's fair enough. This book was published, I think, in the 40s, right? A duty soldier is one fully trained and may ease his burden by finding employment in various stores and workshops. That's all something to do, isn't it? Right? And by looking after horses, by making himself expert and specialised. Lots like machine gunnery, this is over here, right? Or signalling, or by educating himself in the regimental school. They did have to go to school, a bit of English, I'd say, history maybe. While still in the army, you may come among other things a cook, I think this is good, a waiter, a valet, a clerk, a butcher, an armourer, a storekeeper, if he so wishes. He may also compete for promotion. I believe this man ended up his life in the 40s as a lieutenant colonel or something, so he had a good view. Now I know there'll be stories about men that weren't happy with their life, they weren't happy with their officers, they weren't happy the way they were treated. That's another view of this. I think I've nothing left here. Look, I'm going to finish now. This is, I know these men, some of them have graves, some have memorials. That's just a photograph I'm taken out in Flanders on one of the trips I was on. It has no name in it. But the name will be somewhere else, isn't it? So you have names. I'm finishing. Okay.
Thanks very much, Joe. That was a tour de force, and I think we all learned a lot from that as well. Now we're going to have a song now, just to bring things towards an end. We're nearly there now. So we're calling Sean Glennon from Fogana to come up and sing a song for us as well in relation to World War I.
Well, how do you do, young Willie McBride? Do you mind if I sit here down by your graveside and rest for a while neath the warm summer sun? I've been walking all day, now I'm nearly done. I see by your gravestone you were only 19 when you joined the great fallen of 1916. I hope you died well, and I hope you died clean. For young Willie McBride, was it slow and obscene? Did they beat the drum slowly? Did they play the pipe lowly? Did they sound the dead march as they lowered you down? Did the band play the last post and chorus? Did the pipes play the flowers of the forest? Did you leave a wife or a sweetheart behind? In some faithful heart is your memory enshrined. Although you died back in 1916, in that faithful heart are you forever 19? Or are you a stranger without even a name, enclosed and forever behind a glass frame, in an old photograph torn, battered, and stained, and faded to yellow in a brown leather frame? Did they beat the drum slowly? Did they play the pipe lowly? Did they sound the dead march as they lowered you down? Did the band play the last post and chorus? Did the pipes play the flowers of the forest? The sun now it shines on the green fields of France. There's a warm summer breeze, it makes the red poppies dance. The trenches have vanished long under the plough. There's no gas, no barbed wire, there's no guns firing now. But here in this graveyard, it's still no man's land. The countless white crosses stand mute in the sand. To man's blind indifference to his fellow man, and to a whole generation that were butchered and damned. Did they beat the drum slowly? Did they play the pipe lowly? Did they song the dead march as they lowered you down? Did the band play the last post and chorus? Did the pipes play the flowers of the forest? Now Willie McBride, I can't help wonder why. Do all those who lie here know why they died? Did they really believe when they answered the call? Did they really believe that this war would end wars? For the sorrow, the suffering, the glory, the pain, the killing and the dying, sure 'twas all done in vain. And for Willie McBride, it all happened again, and again, and again, and again, and again. Did they beat the drum slowly? Did they play the pipe lowly? Did they sound the dead march as they lowered you down? Did a band play the last post and chorus? Did the pipes play the flowers of the forest?
Sean, thank you for that. I think everyone agreed that was powerful. I think a lot of people had goosebumps with that song. It's a powerful song, you know, and it's about commemoration. This is about commemoration tonight, and what we do here, what the Heritage Group are doing is about commemoration. And it's very important to remember that. It's also important to remember, everyone, that commemoration is by its very nature partisan. Okay, and it's wrong to think that we can reach consensus about our past. We can't. It's by its very nature we can't. Consensus implies that there's something we can all agree upon. And I know, speaking as an historian myself, this is not a true interpretation of our past. Sebastian Barry, the writer, once said that historical facts are there not to accuse, but rather to assert that it is so. This is what happened. This means that we have to acknowledge the achievements of those we disagree with and the sins of those we agree with. We cannot water down or trivialise our past. The past is dead and nothing for good or ill can change it. It lives on in us, shaping our lives and helping to determine our action. World War I, as we all know, was indeed a mass slaughter of the working classes in Europe. Eric Hobsbawm, the historian, called it the age of catastrophe because such the image and the impact and damage it did, not just to lives but to the entire terrain of Europe. What this event has done in its own small but powerful way, by the number of people who came out tonight, is do our own way to commemorate what has happened and to remember those that did not come home, but also those that did come home and the legacy that they all left behind. And everything here today shows that legacy that's been left behind. Okay, so many of us here in this room have such a strong connection with World War I in so many ways. And it's amazing to think the last veteran of World War I died in 2011. So it's that close, that connection to us as well. It's only in the last 4 years that the very last combatant died. And that so many of us have had grandparents, great-grandparents, aunts, uncles, etc. So it's a part of so many of us here as well. So just to bring things to an end, there are a number of people I want to thank to make this event happen tonight. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to just thank Tomas Golan and the staff of Golan's for supporting us, just for the meetings throughout the entire couple of years, and also for tonight as well. There's a lot of thanks, and maybe hold your applause at the end, because it'll be here all night otherwise, okay? So, to reply for Niall Kelly at the very, very start, who created a good atmosphere, and Sean Glennon for that powerful rendition of the Green Fields of France. The school principals, teachers, and the schools themselves, the time and the students, the time and effort they made into their brilliant displays and exhibitions, and for accompanying our members on visits to the schools to talk about what we were doing. To Councillor Connolly and Howard and all our local representatives here tonight for coming along, and to Bishop Kirby as well for coming along too. The judges, Joe Lucknan and Coleman Shaughnessy and Kieran Shaughnessy for the hard work they did. The tough choice I think they had to make as well. Captain Colin Campbell and Sergeant PJ Maloney of the Museum of the Defence Forces in Renmore. You see some exhibitions in the corner there as well. They donated those there on the left hand side, and just so you can have a look at those later on. And it's thanks to Lieutenant Colonel Connie Johnson of CREA who organised that as well. Connie coached me rugby years ago. I wasn't a great rugby player starting off, and I wasn't much better, but I improved thanks to Connie as well. So thanks to him for doing this as well. Aidan Darcy and Ivan O'Grady gave some material as well tonight, and they show some of the guns and weaponry that they were used in World War I. And thanks to our sponsors, to Ballinasloe Town Council, who gave us money before they were disbanded, Galway County Council and their very hard-working and brilliant Heritage Officer Marie Mannion, who couldn't be here tonight because of work commitments. Galway County Heritage Forum, the Heritage Council, O'Grady UPVC of Kiltormer and Barrett Harbour of Ballinasloe, Anthony Kearney, Chris Doherty, and all the local people around that gave us information and allowed their memorabilia to be documented and photographed. Credit also to Dr. Jimmy McNullah of Athens, Greece, formerly of Ballinasloe, for his list of men who fought in the war from Ballinasloe. The Commonwealth Creative Commissions for their online resources, the military archives and various national archives across the world, that helped fill in the gaps that we had. We only had those names starting off the 88, with all that research done by the members, plug the gaps thanks to the online resources that are out there. And also thanks to Theo Hanley for taking the photographs. So as I said, what's here is only a selection of the information that we have. So if you have any queries, committee members will be happy to talk to you as well at the registration desk. If you want to become a member of the Heritage Group, it's only €5 and the forms are there as well. If you'd like to make a donation as well to keep this work going for the next few years, please do so as well. So just please say as well, there's no rush on anyone leaving home. We have refreshments here. You may not have had a chance to look at all the displays around the room, and there's loads of them. So please do that as well. And finally, can I just ask you, before I finish, I had the easy job here. I was the MC. I avoided all the hard work because I've been in Dublin the last year. So the donkey work, the hard work is done by the committee, led by Stephen Connell and Douglas Rafter, who really dug his brains out. So can I just ask you all to show your appreciation to the committee for all the hard work. And thank you all for coming up in such numbers tonight as well, and I hope you stay around for a little while and have yourself some refreshments. Thank you very much everyone, good night.
I'll just tell you my involvement with this group that we started with, first of all I suppose, is that I had two uncles killed in World War I, I suppose it was bringing interest to me. And the other one is I had a father. No, he wasn't my father that because I wasn't born, by the way, till 1937, so do be careful when you're taking years. But the father was one of the lucky ones to come back, the other two, and it was an item that always bothered me. I know growing up with the father, we lost the mother very young, and not an item I would have agreed with the father, his decision to don the British uniform, or the two uncles, go out and get killed, and he to come back half-gassed, and he was not the same man, I can assure you, because the smallest thunderstorm made me feel sorry for him, because he would go in under the bed. These are my memories of the war. You know, it affected him deeply, and really and truly he did. die a young man. But my involvement with the group here was to see a plaque that these people came back, put together the names of 88 soldiers who died on the great battlefields in France. And I do want to tell you is that I had a charmed life, because I suppose our history, it wasn't wanted in Ballinasloe by anywhere. It was a plaque that survived against all the odds, and it still survives, and we have it today, and hopefully, please God, it will get a final resting place in the new library come the end of this 2015, maybe around October, possibly November. It'll be ready to go in there. It'll have found a home at last. It did find a home in Grellan's for about 30 years, but unfortunately Grellan's itself was to be knocked as well. So even that home, although it was there undisturbed and well cared for, it's still looked. So these are what made me get interested, you know. I think we have a history. We'd like to understand what drove our relatives to go and get killed, or to get, the men I knew that came back, I always thought there was something wrong with them. They did carry scars and huge depots. So we're hoping that they will be remembered always, whether I'm here or whether I'm gone. That's my commitment.
Now when I was a young man, I carried my pack, and I lived the free life of the rover. From the Murray's green basin to the dusty outback, I waltzed my Matilda all over. Then in 1915, my country said, son, it's time to stop rambling, there's work to be done. So they gave me a tin hat and they gave me a gun, and they sent me away to the war. And the band played Waltzing Matilda as the ship pulled away from the quay. Amid all the tears, flag waving and cheers, we sail off for Gallipoli. Well, I remember that terrible day when our blood stained the sand and the water, and how in that hell that they called Suvla Bay, we were butchered like lambs at the slaughter. Johnny Turk, he was ready, oh, he'd primed himself well. He rained us with bullets and he showered us with shell, and in 5 minutes flat, we were all blown to hell. Nearly blew us back home to Australia. And the band played Waltzing Matilda when we stopped to bury our slain. We buried ours, and the Turks buried theirs. Then it started all over again. Those who are living just try to survive in that mad world of blood, death and fire. And for 10 weary weeks I kept myself alive, though around me the corpses piled higher. Then a big Turkish shell knocked me arse overhead, and when I awoke in my hospital bed and saw what it had done, then I wished I were dead. I never knew there were worse things than dying. For no more I'll go waltzing, Matilda, all around the green bush far and near. For to hump tent and pegs, a man needs both legs. No more waltzing, Matilda, for me. They collected the wounded, the crippled, the maimed, and they shipped us back home to Australia. The armless, the legless, the blind, the insane, those proud wounded heroes of Suvla. And when the ship pulled into Circular Quay, I looked at the place where my legs used to be, and thank Christ there was no one there waiting for me to grieve and to mourn and to pity. And the band played Waltzing Matilda as they carried us down the gangway. But nobody cheered, they just stood there and stared. Then they turned all their faces away. So now, every April, I sit on my porch and I watch the parade pass before me. And I see my old comrades, how proudly they march, renewing their dreams of past glory. I see the old men, all tired, stiff and sore, the weary old heroes of a forgotten war. And the young people ask, what are they marching for? And I ask myself the same question. And the band plays Waltzing Matilda, and the old men still answer the call. But as year follows year, more old men disappear. Someday no one will march there at all. Waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda, who'll come a waltzing Matilda with me? And their ghosts may be heard as they march by the billabong, who'll come a waltzing